And she's the only one who makes a sexy baby not hugely babyish.
Yeah. she's just great.
Yeah. Well, you have to be born Jennifer Tilly. You can't become Jennifer Tilly. Otherwise, all of us would, because why the fuck wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, if we all had the ability to shapeshift into Jennifer Tilly, there would be 6 billion Jennifer Tillys on this planet.
It would absolutely just turn into that episode of The Twilight Zone. The number 12 looks just like you, but it's just Jennifer Tilly. Like, that's what it would be. It's like, oh, I'm 18 and I get to choose. I will take the Jennifer Tilly model. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're just walking in a park and there's like a Matrix Reloaded scene of 100 Jennifer Tillys fighting in a schoolyard.
That's what I hope my version of heaven looks like when I die.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sexy time is here. That's right. We're talking about Embrace of the Vampire on Kill by Kill After Dark. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from college. Just college. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're talking about horror movie characters in the order in which they die, but because it's February, we've decided to get romantic with it and give you some special After Dark episodes. And of course, there's only one person I trust to make sure if I can transform into a super hot lady, she'll tell me, just stick to that form. You don't have to look like Martin Kemp if you don't want to. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm just tossing out glowing ankh necklaces to everybody I see. Here, this is yours now. You belong to me. Here, this is yours now.
Oh, that's it. So it doesn't matter if I just put this on the ground or leave it by the stairs where I'm sleepwalking. I'll still have it, but I'll lose my massive cross that my super dorky boyfriend gave me.
Yep, that is vampire magic for you.
The vampire magic rules in this movie are crazy.
Well, I was going to say flexible.
They fit your needs, even though you're dying. Okay, we can't get too far into it, Gina, because my brain will start to leak out through my nose. So before that happens, I don't want to alarm you, but we are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest. Of course, you know her as a writer, a filmmaker, and one of the hosts of the fantastic This Ends at Prom podcast. And now I'm so proud to call her a returning champion to Kill by Kill. The one, the only BJ Colangelo. BJ, God damn it, I fucked up your name.
That's totally fine. It's Colangelo. And
it's written phonetically in front of me, BJ.
Patrick, it is pronounced like it's spelled. My God.
I know. Jesus Christ.
But it's fine. I've been here for 2.5 minutes, which means titties are out, and we now have a score that sounds like an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? We're keeping it on brand.
BJ Colangelo, everyone. I can't say last names. I cannot say last names. Why can't I say last names? This, when I put this on the schedule, because we're doing vampires this season, and I was like, okay, we're going to do sexy vampire. Well, what's a sexy vampire movie? And of course, I wrote down a couple that made perfect sense. And then I looked at Embrace of the Vampire from 1995, and I said, that's a serious piece of cheese. That I remember not being particularly good, but very entertaining, and had not seen it since my original viewing. And I was quite surprised that the vast majority of it takes place in slow motion. And if it was all shown to you at regular speed, it would probably be 55 minutes.
And it's also got what I like to call the RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1 Vaseline filter over a lot of those scenes.
It is foggy.
Yeah, there's a Barbra Streisand haze to the entire affair.
Yeah, I think they used to call it back like the 40s and 50s. I think they called mayonnaise lens, where they would just mostly just to kind of smooth out like what they perceive to be signs of aging on a woman's face. But for this, I guess just was to give everything sort of like this like fantasy edge to it.
Yes. I assume to make you believe that if you saw Martin Kemp from Spandau Ballet in a silky pirate shirt.
Oh boy.
If you saw him that way, you would go, who's that odd fellow? But with this lens treatment, you're supposed to go, oh, that is a romantic hot guy that I would do anything for. Even though all he does is yap in your fucking ear constantly.
He like talks and he sulks and he nuzzles at breasts and that's about it.
I would say nuzzle at breasts is the perfect description, Gina, because no one can quite figure out how breasts work in this. No matter how many times they grab them,
there's
push their face up against them.
There's nuzzling, there's motorboating, there's biting. But like, this is like everybody's first time at this.
In one twosome that becomes a threesome that becomes a foursome, somebody shoves knuckles at a person's breasts. And I was like, guys, at least an open fucking palm. Come on.
Maybe it's a deep tissue massage. We didn't really see what they were discussing before this turned into an orgy. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe it's a new kink and we're just out here kink shaming these strangers in this cheeseball movie.
I know. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, but this particular yum I find hard not to yuck. This is a toughie, and not because there aren't attractive people involved, and not that it's not a reasonable fantasy subject to have an erotic thriller attached to or anything like that. But the execution is so clumsy and odd and off-putting. It just is it's a nightmare. Not a pleasant one, like a Skinamarink.
Well, I mean, let's just be, let's just be upfront and say that this entire movie is a Alyssa Milano bare breast delivery service, and you see them a lot. Everybody seems to be perplexed and amazed by them to the point that they don't know what to do with them. And on that level, it succeeds. If you wanted to see what Alyssa Milano's breasts look like, there they are several times.
Yeah.
This is what, the child stars or teen starlets of the era used to do to be like, I'm an adult, take me seriously. They couldn't go twerk at the MTV Movie Awards like they do now. They had to go, titties out in a made-for-TV movie.
Right. This is a couple of years after Drew Barrymore did Poison Ivy. So now all the actors that were, coming of age at that point decided, well, I guess I have to do this too.
Yeah, they're announcing to the world, you've all been fascinated with these. Now you're going to see them. So that the videotapes will be warbled during those scenes when I return this tape to Blockbuster. And there was like an endless parade of these. And the first time I saw it was with a group of friends, and we were just like riffing it. And it was a lot of fun. And then watching it this time, alone in my office, I felt weird. I felt bad. I felt bad about myself and doubted the vision of the show.
And also, let's be, you're also, middle-aged and well aware at this point of how old Alyssa Milano is in this movie.
Right, yeah.
And you got a little bit of I'm not supposed to be seeing this. Which, I mean, again, legally, you can watch it. It's okay. Yeah. But, at the same time, it's like, if this had been a couple years later, there would have been a Alyssa Milano turns 18 in 477 days countdown, on someone's very cheaply made website.
No, you're absolutely right. This is like the cinematic equivalent of knowing that the song 17 by Winger is a banger and really fun to sing along to if you don't think about what you're singing about.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a number. It's an abstract construct. It's not associated with humanity. BJ, what was your first experience with this? And I'll put it in dick fingers movie.
So I am a purveyor of trash. I am also a staunch defender of Lifetime movies. A lot of these made for TV movies. So I watched a lot of these probably way too young, just because I had a deep fascination with them. So I know I watched this movie at some point in high school, but a lot of them sort of blended together. But in my senior year of college, I went down this rabbit hole of wanting to watch erotic thrillers or just erotic movies in general, directed by women. And this is directed by a woman, Anne Goussard. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I'm also bad at last names, but she's Francis Ford Coppola's editor. So, in my brain, I was like, oh, she's got some, real talent to her. And I knew she directed Poison Ivy 2 with Alyssa Milano. So I was like, okay, I'm going to revisit this vampire movie that I'm pretty sure I've seen. And then in watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is the Jennifer Tilly movie. I remember this because once you see Jennifer Tilly, she's etched in your brain forever. So I remembered that, but in rewatching it, I just remember being like, Jordan Ladd's in this movie playing a college student, and she's going to play a high schooler 5 years from now or 4 years from now and never been kissed. Good for her. But I remember rewatching it as a college student very intently and being like, I feel like I'm watching a female director fighting with like a studio about what sex looks like, because there are moments of it where I was like, this is a woman. Like a woman directed this scene. And then it gets to like girl scenes and I'm like, nope, she's not directing this anymore. She's getting notes from somewhere else. This is not what women kissing is like.
They've asked her to come to a trailer and they've brought her breakfast and behind her back on, just film this scene. She'll never know.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I want to say off the top, this is a bad movie. This is like not a good movie. But do I love this movie? Also, yes.
Yeah. We're often fond of when we hit a movie like this to just let people know it's not good, but it might be great under very specific circumstances.
I think that you had the right idea of seeing it with a group of people and riffing on it. Like, this is definitely a party movie. This is the movie you watch with your friends and you cackle about how ridiculous it is, because as far as a plot, not really a plot, like sort of a plot. This is the plot of like a 14-year-old writing fan fiction.
Yes. And there's
absolutely.
a lot of and there's an Axe Cop quality to this, Gina.
Yes. Yeah, I would totally agree.
Yeah, as far as like a plot goes, like I can talk about the movie in the order in which things happen. I can't guarantee it's a story that's going to make any sense.
Well, that's the thing. Things don't happen. She has dreams. She has a dream, sexy dreams about this strange guy who turns out to be real. And he's a vampire, and his wife? She was a wife? His beloved was killed, and he has this very complicated, elaborate thing that he must go through in order to bring her back. And apparently, he has to drink the blood of a virgin, but his idea of getting close to this woman is making her feel very horny. Which I'm like, well, that's kind of the opposite, effect that you want to have on somebody that you need to ensure stays a virgin for this spell, I guess you have to cast.
But he also he needs her to want him and not just like disconnect her from the romance she's having with this very bland, turkey sandwich of a man who's been haunting her dorm room for a year, but she's 17. What? They've been dating for a year. So since she turned 17, they've been dating.
I mean,
That's, I think, what we're supposed to glean from this. And I understand why it's 18, because we culturally have such stock of like, well, once you're 18, then you're an adult and whatever. So like, I get it. But also the logistics behind what this movie is actually about, it makes it so creepy. And like, I was absolutely like having sex at 17. So like, I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination. But when an entire movie is centered around like the ageless vampire, fascinated with 17-year-old girl, yes, this is a Twilight call out. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And the fact that like his existence depends on doing this within 3 days, and he spends 2.5 of those days fucking around. Just fucking around. Like, fucking do something. I swear to God, I get motivated to do work faster than this guy does to try to prevent his eternal sleep.
Well, he has the ability to enter her dreams, which seems to me, it's like, why don't you put that energy into maybe, casting a mind control spell or something like that. Like, obviously, if you can Freddy Krueger yourself into a person's dreams, then clearly you have some control over their subconscious thoughts. So it seems to me you cut out the middleman of you farting around in her dreams and just, you put just a sort of, hey, look over here, look at me, do what I say.
Her into
a vampire,
an affair.
like a vampire would actually do.
See, but he can't do that because he's too busy brooding in a clock tower like he's the Phantom of the Opera mixed with Quasimodo. Like, he's just got to sit up there and be against a black backdrop and brood.
How did he end up in this fucking clock tower? Why did he decide to light there? And he's finally like, oh, she arrived. The reincarnation of my lady love. So I've got 3 days until I die as an eternal vampire. So I'll spend like 2+ of those days just like being Freddy Krueger light.
and shape shifting and appearing to as different people. And it's like, okay, you have all of those abilities, but you don't have hypnotism? that seems like Vampire 101.
The typical overconfidence of men. Like, that's what he's doing. I don't need 3 days. I'll take half a day, sir.
Well, he's negging her this entire time. Like, what do you really love this man? And just so you know, audience who has not seen this film, if you haven't, Martin Kemp from Spandau Ballet is playing, quote unquote, the vampire. He doesn't even have a name. His name not even like Jimmy or Frank or Goofus. Whatever he is, he's just now the vampire. And he can make you walk out of your dorm in the middle of the night in a billowy cotton nightgown and just like paw you on metal stairs, which who wants to be pawed on metal stairs? We've had some really rough dry humping on this show, starting with Friday the 13th, the original, on a wood dock. But metal fucking stairs outside in Canada or wherever the fuck this is, fuck no. This is the worst pawing I've ever seen in cinema.
You might as well be on a giant cheese grater at that point.
It can't be comfortable. It can't be comfortable for anyone involved. And there's not one, but 2 attempted sex scenes on this staircase. And they are treated as if they are on opposite sides of town.
They sure are.
BJ, you mentioned something that, you said you were having sex at 17. See, I wasn't, shockingly, I know. But a lot of the characters in this movie, including her roommate, who is Rachel True, there's a lot of horror people in this movie, which is interesting. You've got Rachel True, you've got Jordan Ladd, but these 2 people in particular are absolutely stupefied that she is a virgin. And this is a point of great consternation to everybody around her. Like, fine, I get that the boyfriend is concerned with the fact that she's still a virgin, but like her roommate and this girl who's like I guess she's sort of a frenemy, and then they're sort of competing for the same guy at some point, and they're just they can't get over this that she's an 18-year-old virgin, and it's like no one would have cared that.
No one
would have
cared.
No one would have cared that much that that you're in college and you're still a virgin.
Yeah, at that point, it just becomes like, okay, well, let's just make sure that you don't lose it to some weirdo on campus. Like, that, it becomes the mindset of all of the floozy friends is taking care of our virginal
friends. Yeah, but it's like literally like, hey, how about that guy? Why don't you just go why don't you just go have sex with that guy and get it over with?
Yeah, just, you're in a basement. Here's a swinging dick. Just have at it.
Campus sex is dangerous. People are creeps.
Yes. Like Rachel True's character, Mo, let's put that out front. Character's like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, and just shoves her in the direction of this rando guy who immediately is like, date rape time, looks at his watch, yes, clocks in, and immediately attempts to date rape her. And the only thing that stops it is, of course, variable power vampire man who comes out of the darkness and grabs this guy by the jaw in the most awkward fucking fashion.
Oh my God,
no one told Martin Kemp how to bite somebody on the neck.
That whole scene is when he's trying to bite Rachel True through that net. I was dying. I was just like, this, Patrick, this may be among the most egregious. You want a second take on this? No? Oh, okay. All right. We're going to go with him like chewing at trying to push the net out of the way. Like he's like eating too much spaghetti on my fork.
I'm surprised both of them didn't come away with severe rope burns, because she's acting like she's somehow caught in this net when she's just leaned back into it. She's holding on to it. The only thing attaching her to that net is her, and then he's forcing his face through parts of it to awkwardly nibble at her neck because no one has told him how to bite consistently. And he's kind of like, and it's like, this is not sexy. This is not scary. This is just weird. It's all weird.
Weird is like being generous as well. Like, I want to make that also clear. And I do love that throughout this episode, we have like not really discussed anyone's character names because it's such a non-point. Like, it's just nope, that's Rachel True and Jordan Ladd and Alyssa Milano.
I honestly don't remember any of the character names. I watched it Friday and it's like already fading from my memory.
It starts with Martin Kemp in this very fantasy sequence, and he's got a silk shirt on, and he looks about 15 years too old to be doing it.
Yeah, well, let me point out to you,
he's a reasonably attractive guy.
This intro, this fantasy intro, where he's attacked by these like the Wikipedia page describes them as nymphs. And I'm like, sure, they're nymphs.
Sure.
It's basically like Harker and the Three Brides.
It is. You mentioned that the director is collaborated with Francis Ford Coppola, and she did in Bram Stoker's Dracula. So right. So she definitely. I mean, that's if this scene looks very much like that, it's because she edited that scene. So it's basically the same scene, just now their breasts are exposed, and it's in daylight, which kind of
Martin,
right, which kind of negates which kind of negates the idea that they're vampires, because this is in broad daylight that this is happening.
Well, the vampires in this movie have entirely different powers than a normal vampire. It's almost nonsensical to call them vampires outside of the fact that they constantly talk about blood and they awkwardly nibble the neck for blood. But everything else that they do is some other thing, like an Ankh from the Mummy and forest nymphs and all this stuff. And everyone walking in slow motion. None of this has to do with vampires. It's just like they got sold a name and they're like, he's a vampire? Crank up the Enya? Will that help? If we call the movie The Nosferatu Diaries, I did not remember this part. That was new to me. This is a Red Shoe Diary as written by fucking Quill, by the lead singer of Spandau Ballet, in a giant book of poetry in his college dorm. What the fuck? This is supposed to be sexy. And it's not. It's just not.
This is supposed to be sexy.
I feel ripped off. I didn't pay anything for this. I don't think I paid anything for it either time. I think I worked at Blockbuster and got it for free the first time I watched it. So I'm not contributing at all to the Nosferatu Diaries bottom line.
Well,
and
when this movie first came out, obviously everybody made a big deal about it because Alyssa Milano's getting naked in it. But all the promotional material would have you believe that the vampire of the title is solely Charlotte Lewis, who is this photographer that apparently this vampire has the ability to look like her, which I'm not entirely clear on, but if you looked up anything about this movie when it came out, it was lesbian vampire movie. She's in a lesbian vampire movie, and it's like that's a very, very, very infinitesimally tiny part of this movie. Like you would have no idea that there was anything to do with a male vampire.
I wish there wasn't anything to do with a male vampire.
Everything, all of it was all, the same, always the same promotional shot of her and Charlotte Lewis kissing each other. And, the idea is that it is entirely her that is, luring Alyssa Milano over to the dark side. And no, it's just this vampire. It's like, well, I'm not turning her on. What if I appeared to her as a sexy lady photographer?
And this is no shade to our the vampire here. But if I had the ability to turn into Charlotte Lewis, that would be the only form I ever took.
Right.
Exactly.
Later on, he turns into Jennifer Tilly. You're not walking around like Jennifer Tilly 24/7. This would be such a better movie if you yeeted this dude immediately. And it was just Jennifer Tilly fighting for her soul. I'm in. I'm invested. I don't care how much slow motion is in this. I am totally down with Jennifer Tilly being a vampire who tears her way through a fucking college campus. And instead, I get this guy negging her in her ear during class when she's asleep, when she's just walking around. Why don't you love me? You need love is such. You cannot take it to heaven. Shut the fuck up.
If I had the ability to just transform into random hot babes, I would be totally fine not having hypnotism as a power.
Exactly. 100% yes. And
the plot of this thing is Draco Ballet here is, I don't know.
Draco Ballet. It's like the goth cover band.
He's just hanging out in college. He doesn't even go there. He's found the soul of his ex-princess lover, and he must drink her blood within 3 days, or he goes sleepy time forever. And that's it. That's the sum total of the plot. And you have Alyssa Milano. I do have her character name. She's playing Charlotte, and you know this because there's brown undertones to her lipstick in this movie. We all know Alyssa Milano from such projects as Who's the Boss, Charmed, becoming the enemy of every other lead of Charmed, co-starring in that Netflix show that started out as a pilot for the CW about a girl who gets her jaw wired shut after a robbery incident, becomes hot, kills off beauty pageant contestants that she doesn't like. That was a real show. And just last month becoming the main character of the internet for posting a $10,000 GoFundMe for her kids' Little League team, despite her and her husband being multi-fucking millionaires. So Alyssa Milano's been having it great, and no better cap off is to recount the entirety of Embrace the Fucking Vampire, a movie I'm sure she would love to be buried for all eternity.
One thing that I will also give Alyssa Milano, she does get credit where credit is due, is she has been very vocal about how weird a lot of people are about this movie. You know, because back then she was like, this was me gaining autonomy of the characters that I played and becoming, you know, more than just this kid star, and people immediately made it weird, which they did. And I also read an interview with Anne Gorsand where she talked about how this movie was made for like probably $500,000, and she estimates it's probably made like 15 million in home video and rentals. And it's like, yeah, there's not a lot to this movie, so we know why people are getting it. And I can only imagine like the weird stuff people have said to her over the years. I don't know if either of you have ever seen like an interaction at a horror convention when like someone is talking to a figure like, I don't know, like Daniel Harris is a really easy example of this. People will say the wildest shit to women in horror movies or vampire movies that they masturbated to when they were 14. They like, for whatever reason, think it's totally cool to tell that person to their face that they've done it. And I've watched it happen on multiple occasions where I'm like, in what universe is that an acceptable thing to say to a person?
Well, yeah, I think because like, you know, women in horror, as you know, as you and I would know from, you know, spending time on Twitter, you know, there's a perception that, you know, oh, you know, you guys are cool. You can take, you know, any kind of, you know, weird shit being said to you. You know, you like weird stuff. You're into weird things. And it's like, that's a wild assumption to make, you know, just because, you know, you are comfortable, you know, with certain, you know, horrifying things that, you know, that means you are comfortable with, you know, anything, you know, with people acting a certain way towards you. So yeah, I can see where people would think that. It's like, oh, you must be cool and laid back. So I'm just going to tell you about my masturbation habits.
Right. And it's like, you can absolutely talk to somebody about the movies that they've been in where these scenes exist without being a weirdo about it. It's actually quite easy to do. Yeah. But, you know, some people, they just can't hang and they have to make it weird.
Yes. You know, being in this town for as long as I have, almost my entire life, being the good hang is the hardest component of it, is not being uncool, and not in the sense that I'm a cool guy everyone wants to hang with, but not finding yourself blurting out the dumbest fucking shit because it occurs to you, because all of a sudden this individual, by sheer fact that their job is to appear on screen, and you have a relationship with them that they do not have with you, you have to rein that shit in and control yourself like you're at a job, like you're with your family, like you're with friends, and not be a complete asshole. These things are not hard to do, but surprisingly easy to let lapse.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. That's the key. The whole, you know, you have a relationship with them that they don't have with you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the parasocial relationships that people have with celebrities, you know, random people that they see on the internet, or, you know, the people that they view are pivotal to them. Because I do not doubt that this movie was probably a massive awakening for a lot of people. And, you know, there is something kind of cool about that. Like, everybody remembers your first, and like that makes whoever was in the movie kind of a very important figure to you. And there's no shame in that. You don't have to then recount the details of that awakening to said person.
Right. It doesn't make it better. It only makes it worse.
It's weird. Don't do it.
If you are going to insert yourself into someone's life, at least have the, you know, integrity and the forward thinking to onk them first. This is how you get to know somebody. You onk them. You onk them hard, and then the onk glows, and then you get into sexy dream time. This is how I met my wife. I'm sure, PJ, is how you met yours. You know, you onk somebody, and then you're bonded, and then you can neg them in their head for the entire length of a motion picture.
Can we talk about how hideous that Ankh necklace is? Because in a lot of like vampire movies or any sort of these supernatural movies where it's like, here's this like magical necklace you're going to wear, it's at least like beautiful jewelry. Like I think about like the necklace that Robin Lively wears in Teen Witch, and it has like this triangle and like a beautiful gemstone in it. This Ankh necklace looks like it was made in like a preschool craft time. It is so hideous and gaudy.
Yeah. And only made worse that it glows.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful. Terrible.
And everyone looks great once it starts to glow. Like Alyssa Milano, I think we can all, in an uncreepy way, just say, just a very classically attractive face.
Oh,
very
she's beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful lady. But when a blue glowing ankh is on her chest and that casts a blue shade across her face, she's as unattractive as any person can be, because no one looks good in that kind of blue from underneath their chin. That's a tough look.
Are you trying to say that like campfire tales lighting is not flattering for people?
I'm saying it works for the tweens who are telling stories at the Midnight Society, and that's about it.
Oh, yeah, it's not great. But like, and to your point though, everyone though in this movie, I would say, save for Martin Kemp, again, like not trying to shade him, he is an attractive man. This movie's just not doing it for him. It's not doing him any favors. No. But like little goth era Alyssa Milano, so beautiful. Jordan Ladd with her like very, very cute blonde bob, so adorable. Rachel True is looking so gorgeous in this movie. I mean, this is Bound era Jennifer Tilly, so like what really needs to be said at this point? Like everybody looks gorgeous in this movie except for the vampire, which makes it so much harder for me to buy into this idea of like, oh yeah, if I was being dream invaded by this guy, I would also start having sex with everybody because I'd be so turned on. Like, no, I'm not. I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things, not that.
No, I mean, like, listen, women's bodies and looks are talked about constantly. So I really don't feel a lot of shade just attacking Martin Kemp, who's miscast here. And often will come off looking like if you woke up out of a dead sleep and saw Nick Cage next to your bed, and you're like, is that Nick Cage? Is that not Nick Cage? It's Martin Kemp. Okay, I can go back to sleep.
Well, the thing is, she's got a boyfriend, and he's a complete dork.
Yes.
But at least he's cute in a kind of boy band sort of way. Like, you know, neither he or Martin Kemp have any sort of charisma to speak of. Not a drop. You know, I think you're supposed to just, you know, assume because, well, just by, you know, default, because he's a vampire, this is going to be the more charismatic one that she's drawn to for reasons she can't explain. But I mean, at least the boyfriend, you know, he's fine looking. He's appealing. Again, he seems like, you know, he might have been a second tier member of New Kids on the Block at the time. But you know, I could certainly see where, you know, a nice girl, 18-year-old would be drawn to him more than this sort of like, you know, pasty cure fan.
Yeah, he's
like fucking Goldfinger, the way he explains plans to you constantly. You just, all right, I get it. And before you know it, like 3 minutes have gone by with him yippity yapping in your fucking ear.
Yeah, the boyfriend in this, he's such a wiener. Like, and I don't mean to insult the man who played him. This is more the character. But all of the women in this movie are like 10s across the board. And all of the men in this movie are like 6s on a good day. And,
yeah.
And it's just,
Seriously.
and it is because he is such a wiener. Like, he is absolutely your first real boyfriend out of high school that you date for like a year in college. And then you break his heart when you realize how boring he is. And then he goes back home and works at his dad's used car dealership. Like, that's who this guy is. Charlotte, you can do better. You don't have to do better than a vampire. You don't have to get the vampire, but like, you can certainly do better than this guy.
Yeah, listen, everyone loves a guy who's willing to take off his shoes before he takes you to bed. I do love that when he picks her up off the stairs because he believes that he's just been called psychically. He knows she's in trouble. He arrives to this college campus in his Ford 4-door and picks her up off the stairs and emits a dad groan. Because she is wearing like 100 pounds soaking wet. And he goes, "Ugh," when he picks her up off the ground. And they recorded the audio. And they're like, we keep that in. That's not a good decision. It's not helping things at all.
No, it's not. And also, going back to suspending of disbelief, at one point, he is seduced by the Jennifer Tilly vampire and resists her. I call bullshit.
Fuck you. I'm sorry. There's nothing less relatable to me than making out with Jennifer motherfucking Tilly and going, this isn't something I need. No. I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially since it's been established numerous times how deeply horny he is.
Yes. He's terminally horny.
Yes. Yeah, at that point, it's just like, oh, you're a vampire? Sick. I can do this forever? Even better.
And oh my God, we've confronted this, I think, ever since Scream. And at least that's when we gave voice to it. And that is the phenomenon of, have you considered my penis? And throughout this movie, Chris is the second most predominant, have you considered my penis, next to Martin Kemp, who's, have you considered my vampire penis? That's the only difference between the two of them.
You're not wrong. And the movie also like kind of implies that like one is better than the other. Like Martin Kemp's vampire penis is dangerous and you should try to be resisting. But you know what? You should maybe throw a bone to Chris. Maybe. That's what love is. And it's like, what? No.
I don't care how many maroon shirts he wears. And he seems to have an endless parade of maroon shirts. It doesn't help that the theme to this movie seems to be 3/4 of the endless love theme. My vampire, there's only you in my life. There's just not the refrain at the end. And every time it plays, you're like, you're going to get sued. You're going to get sued real hard. And then Alyssa Milano comes out of a bedroom dressed like beige Aunt Jemima.
Oh my God, this outfit.
What is that?
What the fuck is that sock on her head?
Like, she looks like, what do they call it? A balaclava where you like, where it looks like you're always about to rob a liquor store. Right. Like, it looks like someone just gave her one and like, here, like, wear this sort of like a beanie, I guess, where it's sort of slumped over. And I'm like, again, I was an adult in 1995. And I'm like, I don't remember anybody dressing the way her character dresses in this movie. And yeah, I get that she's supposed to be virginal. So she does, she dresses kind of like a Mormon sort of, or, Hasidic kind of like, covered in fabric from neck to ankles, solely so, we can, juxtapose that with at the end where she's wearing the the velour mini dress and stuff like that to just show how much she's changed and how this vampire's had such old. It's like, no, everybody was wearing the velour the crushed velvet mini dresses in 1995, regardless of whether you were a virgin or not.
Yeah, this movie seems to believe that the journey is beige to red velour.
Like she wears this like sort of like nun in training uniform, like 5 minutes after just casually stripping down in front of her boyfriend and just doing just look the other way.
Yeah, and of course she's also And not that I'm forcing underwear on her, but she's braless underneath this very weird blouse. It's like, choose a lane. I don't know. Like, and that it seems uncomfortable. It seems, I'm like, again, you don't have to wear a bra for me, but it is a very different vibe to be braless in a white button-down shirt.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think that she is telegraphing, like, the idea is it's fetishizing virginity, where, you know, she's not dressed like a regular college student would be. She's all buttoned down and she's insecure about her absolutely banging body. You know, it's like you know, it's kind of a take on that, you know, oh, you know, she was so beautiful, but she didn't know it. It's like, right. And it's like, oh my God, I could hear your wrist cramping from here, man.
Like, the way that virginity is presented in film is so fascinating to me, because this year is 1995. This is the year of another very, very famous virgin in a teen movie. A virgin who can't drive, so to speak. Cher Horowitz in Clueless is also a virgin and does not look like she's wearing a fashionable potato sack to explain her virginity. So it's really interesting to be like, well, how are we going to make it very obvious that she's going on this transformation? Well, she has to start out looking like she got clothes from a church basement.
Right.
Then we're going to transform.
Where Cher's virginity is supposed to be relatable.
Yes.
Like, you know, like, oh, even this popular girl is a virgin and it's not a big deal, you know? I mean, and she's still a virgin by the end of the movie, you know? I mean, but you know, she dresses like regular people.
Yes. Who would have thought? What a wild concept that virgins are regular people. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, and here it's like, well, you know, fashion this tablecloth into a crude dress. Because, you know, we have to telegraph to the audience that, you know, it's not that you know, have just simply chosen to not have sex yet or just haven't found the right guy. It's that, you know, you're insecure about your body and you don't want men thinking about it, even though they're very much going to be thinking about it.
Yeah, instead, like, she's squeezed into these weird Raggedy Ann bleached in the sun affairs.
What I will very much hail this movie for, though, because I love it, it's one of my favorite tropes, is the idea that suddenly embracing sexuality also makes your hair more voluminous. I love that trope because she starts and she has, like, you know, her cute little bob and she tucks it behind her ears. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh, someone discovered a blow dryer and a round brush. I love it.
She has like MTV video vixen hair. Yeah.
Yes, it's great.
She's discovered a volumizer by the end of this, and a real good leave-in conditioner. And
you know, the first time, you remember back in the day that Patrick, when you lose your virginity, they give you you know, birth control and a can of hair mousse.
That's right.
Congratulations, go with God, enjoy yourselves.
You might find that your acne cleans up a little bit with this too. There's all sorts of side benefits to it.
Your lipstick gets about 2 shades darker and it's way better for your complexion.
Very true. It's not washing you out. It's actually adding dimension to your face.
Yes, it's great.
And so, there's weird dynamic where Chris, the boyfriend, is desperately trying to get her to sleep with him before her 18th birthday, as if she has an expiration date attached to her hymen. It's super fucking weird. And then Vampire Ballet is just yip. I'm gonna go to sleepy time in 3 days in her ear. On top of that, and every other scene, she's like, "I lost my cross. I got onked. I took off the onk. I'm not onked anymore." And then everyone else reacting to the fact that she exists being a virgin, like Rachel True, who just cannot wrap her brain around the idea that Chris has emerged from Charlotte's dorm room. Like, math is floating around her head at the implications of what this means.
Yeah, a college dorm room is considered like this Dionysian party zone where, like, just, you know, nude people are just walking around the hallways. like it's nothing. And it's just like, no, I mean, I think, college dorms are generally when you're just expected to be a slob and not just, you puttering around topless where your dorm mates can see you.
Right.
I have to have a confession. This is like a side tangent, but it's relatable. I definitely did do that in college, but it was as an act of protest because I was on like a mixed gender dorm floor my sophomore year, and our RA had like a meeting, and it was like, if you didn't come to this meeting, then you can't, participate in any of the rules that we've established for the floor or whatever. But that meant the entire theater department couldn't be there because we all had rehearsal. And so we go back, and there's this big sign on the wall that's like the rules of the dorm floor, and it's like, you have to escort all of your guests to the bathroom. Okay, that's fair. Don't be super loud. Okay, that's fair. But one of the rules on there was, if you have a hot bod, show it off. If you don't, put a shirt on.
Oh.
And I was like, you don't get to decide what that means. So congratulations, y'all are seeing saggy titties and back rolls for the rest of the week, because how dare you? Because that's the kind of person I was in college. So maybe I would have fit in at the school, just being topless in the halls,
just walking around the nude in the background while they're just having a chat.
I mean, the rules changed pretty much immediately because like the building person heard about it and was like, okay, you've made your point. That was like not a cool rule for them to have made, but you have to put a shirt on. I was like, yeah, no, that's fine. I can do that.
Okay.
But I put it in your face, so fuck you. Yeah. I agree with this level of punk rock. This is cool to me.
But something that you mentioned, though, that I like have to go back to is you're totally right that Chris also was trying to have sex with her before her birthday. And like, his reasoning is weirder to me because there is no reasoning. It's just, it's your birthday soon. We've been together for so long, so we should. At least the vampire has the excuse of like, if this doesn't happen, I'm dying forever, which still not a great excuse because the amount of men who've been like, oh my God, if I don't have sex, I'm going to die. Like, grow up. But like, this at least makes sense other than boyfriend that's just like, well, I feel like I deserve it at this point. Also grow up.
Yeah. This really is Have You Considered My Penis the movie? It is so in your face how much his need to have sex, like not since Friday the 13th part 3D has a boyfriend come up with more fucking sex plans for someone you're not having sex with currently. And he just is at it all the time. And then in her ear is Martin Kemp going, every hour that passes weakens me more. Like, cool. Am I supposed to be happy or sad about that, my dude?
It's like, I don't even know you.
Right. It's like, I don't know you.
I'm like, this is not my problem to have. This is a YP, not an MP. And then on top of that, whenever Charlotte and this guy kiss, it is the loudest recorded kisses ever. Like, they took that audio track and everyone's footsteps and cranked them to 11. The sound person on this film should be in The Hague. I don't have to hear every scrape of a chunky heel, and yet I am treated to it. Speaking of chunky heels, we have Eliza, played by Jordan Ladd, with her hair bleached beyond the point of reason. She's also wearing a body of evidence style beret. If you're wondering what fashion was like, now we have two examples, Gina, of beret equals sexy, which I don't believe is true, and I blame 1995 for.
Yeah, I mean, berets were certainly more of a thing in 95 than shapeless sacks.
Well, how else are people going to know that you're artistic?
That's true.
Exactly.
That's very true.
I also love that this movie let me know. So there are a few words in the English language that not everybody can pull off. One of those words is the C word, as in not cancer, but the other one. Jordan Ladd can pull off yelling that at a door and calling someone the C word. I was very pleased with her delivery of that. I was like, look at you. You can pull that word off. Not a lot of people can. A lot of people sound like a child swearing for the first time, and you really put some oomph behind it.
Yeah, I mean, the problems with this movie, with the exception of Martin Kemp, are not really derived from its casting. They've gotten a bumper crop of talented women. It is every doofus that they're forced to play against throughout the entire movie that really just lets out the gas, the air of the balloon.
And I obviously can't prove this, but I do think that might be a reflection of the fact that the director was a woman, because, I did read some more interviews, and Alyssa Milano talked about how, the only issues I have with this movie are how, other people reacted to it. I felt very safe on set. I was cool with everything that I did. I felt comfortable with my cast. Part of me thinks, a lot of the women on this cast probably felt very comfortable to really go there and do something, and the men might have been a little on edge, and maybe that's why they all feel so stunted and weird.
Yeah.
They also seem to have come off a bench of just bland sort of Canadian high school soap opera. There's a type that sort of pervades all of this on the men's side. And I just wish they'd been up to the level of the women, because maybe there had been a bit more spark. I mean, when you put any guy just weirdly unshaven in mustard yellow, green, and brown together in one outfit, I look back at my life and I'm like, I was not nearly shaggy enough in my youth. I should have been more confident in wearing these colors that do not go together together, like Milo does in this party scene, where every song they play on the radio is just yarled to the end point. It's just like, we get it. We all listen to Pearl Jam. We can move on.
Famous party band, Pearl Jam.
That's how you bring the rhythm and the funk, of course.
Yeah, truly. This is at a college campus where hip hop does not exist. And so what you get is either just Pearl Jam yarling or one Soul to Soul song, and Enya at the beginning. That's how you know that's erotic. So they cranked up Enya to 11. At one point, someone says, "I'm your destiny," unironically. And I'm like, come on. 10 years after Back to the Future, you're going with "I'm your destiny"? I don't think so. You've watched movies. I watched movies.
Yeah, there are certain lines where after they become just definitive from another movie, don't do it again, because then I think of, it makes me laugh. It doesn't feel sexy. It doesn't feel seductive. It just doesn't work.
No. And then Rachel True's character, Nicole, sacrifices Charlotte to some rando in the basement. Nicole gets caught up in a net that she's held on by gravity in her hands. And Martin Kemp gnaws on her neck. And that's it. And we go to a fantasy where somehow the vampire's on top of Charlotte. And now, a couple weeks in a row, Gina, we've had guys having sex with ladies with their pants on, and I'm not cool with this. This is not cool.
No. This does not work.
No.
I don't want my zipper rubbing up against somebody in their very most private of places. That is not attractive. That is a dangerous situation. And they deserve to be taken care of. I can take off my pants, and so can Martin Kemp.
But would he take off his pants?
Well, later on, we get to see 2 scoops of Chris's buns. And I mean, I've seen better. I've seen a lot worse.
They can't all be Ryan Phillippe and Cruel Intentions.
True. We really, really can't. And so if you're keeping track, at this point, I think we've had 4 or 5 confirmed dream sequences. If you took the dream sequences out of the movie, it would be 25 minutes.
Yeah, this is a short film without dream sequences.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's it is amazing how little actually happens in this.
almost nothing happens in it. Because like Martin Kemp is reasonably attractive, but he's not risk it all hot.
No.
But neither is Chris. No. Neither is anyone else other than Jennifer Tilly is risk it all hot in this movie.
But we also have to tell the audience, like, she doesn't show up till like the last 25 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
And
probably the film's worst crime, of course.
Right. And she is maybe in it a grand total of about less than 10.
She makes him count, though. And you know what? Oh, yeah. That's all I need.
Yeah, I actually messaged Patrick. I was like, now we're cooking.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we got a movie going here when Jennifer Tilly shows up. It's like a breath of fresh air. You're like, oh my God.
I had no idea that she was in it. I can't remember if she was listed in the opening credits, but I was like, oh, look at that. Jennifer Tilly.
But the movie's numbed you to the point where you even forget the promise of Jennifer Tilly until she shows up, and the audible gasp of like, oh, a professional is here. Okay. All right.
Like,
I can.
And that's really it, though, because it's like, again, I don't understand why, if you are a vampire with the ability to turn into hot women, you wouldn't just be hot women, because both of the hot women are also better at seducing people in this movie than he is by like a considerable margin.
Just on a level of seduction. He is not good at this. There's a reason why he's going sleepy time bye-bye for eternity. And that's because he sucks at this, and not in a good way.
No.
And the other thing too is like, if Charlotte is supposed to have, you know, like she's the energy of his beloved or whatever, how long has he been chasing his beloved to where he's about to die in 3 days? How many people has he failed with? Maybe this is a sign to give it up, my guy.
Yeah, the Nosferatu diary reads a lot like an incel post.
Yes.
Why don't these ladies love me? I give so much to them. I give them on. I show up in pirate shirt. It's like, dude, you're not, there's so low effort. You could be Jennifer Tilly whenever you want, and you chose to wait until 10 minutes to death to do it? Fuck off. You deserve to die.
Agreed. 100% agreed. If he would have been like, oh, my lady is dead, let me be Jennifer Tilly for 5 minutes, your problem would have been solved 100 years ago.
You would be swimming in it. And no, you wait to launch that on fucking Chris of all people. You waste that on Chris?
I do like that it implies that he's also, you know, bisexual because of all his forms he takes and the people he seduces. He's an equal opportunity seductor. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I also think like that is the bisexuality of it all is the most interesting part of Embrace of the Vampire, and the one it least wants to reckon with as a subject matter, which I find odd. Why introduce it if you don't want to engage with it? Because it's the more interesting tack of this that it's quite possible that Charlotte is not interested in sex with Chris because she's not interested in sex with Chris or the vampire or most dudes. She's much more interested in having sex with the gal on her floor from The Golden Child and Jennifer Tilly or anyone else. That seems to be a more interesting path for the movie and one it just does not want to engage with beyond titillation.
Well, it's the 90s, so.
That's really all you have to say. It's like this is all very much, you know, for the male gaze, and that's why I think that BJ was right that, you know, yes, a woman directed this movie, but there's a lot of male interference in it.
Yeah. And it's a shame that we also just really have not evolved from this, because about the time we're recording this, there is a clip currently going viral from the new Jenna Ortega movie where she makes out with Gideon Adlin in it. And the amount of people who have like busted out their cell phones in the middle of a movie theater to record Jenna Ortega kissing a girl is absurd. It's like, how are we still doing this, guys? Like, I get it. I'm a very gay lady. It's very cool when I get to see that on screen, especially with one of like the biggest starlets. But we know that you're doing this because girls kissing, and like, come on, grow up.
Another great fantasy of this film is the idea that you could offer somebody a clove cigarette and say, "You'll love this." No, you won't.
You will cough and grimace.
You will go, "Why the fuck would anyone put this in their lungs?" and just throw it on the ground. Clove cigarettes, don't do it. You can try just about any other kind of cigarette, and you'll probably end up in a better place than you will be than habitually smoking clove cigarettes. Brought to you by theater departments since 1972.
I was just going to say, if you're smoking clove cigarettes, you are either in the theater department or you're doing slam poetry actively.
Yes.
Now. Some of us did both.
And so we do have this very faux lesbian scene that we get to crank up 94.7 the wave during a glamour shot sesh. And for whatever reason, Charlotte is wearing this. This seems too dowdy for Princess Leia. Let's put her in this outfit. This Swiss Miss sort of thing going on that she disrobes, and over the course of what feels like eternity, she eventually gets topless and they start to make out a little bit, and then there's a lot of loud sternum kissing, and then she's like, "Oops, my bad, no want." And she's like, "Okay." And she just walks out. Of course, isn't Charlotte or Jordan Land outside like, "Whoa." And she like a wolf whose jaw drops to the ground and the tongue rolls out like a red carpet.
See, I wish that they would have actually gone that far. Like, could you imagine just like a random spontaneous, like, now we're in the mask sort of reaction? Thrill.
And so this I wish I could tell you that there was a plot, but there just isn't. It progresses to the point where over the course of the movie, Charlotte gets hornier and hornier and hornier, and more dream sequences happen, and then but very little sex. And it kind of culminates in this giant like bacchanal of a party in which Jordan Land slips Charlotte ecstasy in her drink. And then this seems to open her up to a whole level of possibilities. She's really expanded her mind using drugs. So good for her, I guess.
I mean, I doubt that, women tend to roofie other women very often, but
yeah,
but sure, we can pretend that's a thing that happens. Why not?
Because before that, it's just like she's going to art class, she's getting a D, and she's got a dorky vampire yapping in her ear constantly. I would find it hard to concentrate too. If this guy was like, we could have eternal life together. Like, oh, shut up, man. I have a D in art history. This is a gimme class. I got a D. Yeah, this is when we have the dream sequences where we see two scoops of Chris. And meanwhile, Martin Kemp is like, oh, no. I'm showing up to this maybe topless, but I gotta have pants on. No one can see me south of the border. And it's like, at a certain point, if Chris can show them cheeks, maybe you can pop those bad boys out. Let's see what buns have been in the oven. No, nothing like that. It's so fucking boring. It's like an old-fashioned sex pileup. And after this dream, she's like, I don't want Chris anymore. Like I've come as close as I will ever come to having sex with Chris, and I choose the girl on the other side of the hall. That's a good choice. Stick with that. Mm-hmm. Listen to your gut in this circumstance, Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm very much on Team Charlotte. Experiment and date around a bit.
Yeah, or just hang out at local bars long enough until Jennifer Tilly arrives. She's supposedly playing a character named Marika, introduces herself once. Her name is never spoken of again. And honestly, The toughest acting gig of a lifetime is pretending to be attracted to this Chris guy in this current state, because he is not. He's like, oh, lady. And I get it. Hard to be cool in the presence of Jennifer Tilly, but try to pull it together.
She's also got a dagger tattoo on her titty, which is like, and of course he does like the most obvious thing, go, did that hurt? Come on, guy. What's wrong with you?
But this allows her to whisper moan in his ear. Why don't you kiss it and make it feel better? I wish I could do a Jennifer Tilly. I don't do impressions, but I've had a nice string of them in this year. But Jennifer Tilly is not something I can pull off. So my apologies to her.
It is hard
her family.
it is hard to do the sexy baby voice well, and I think she is the master of the sexy baby voice.
And she's the only one who makes a sexy baby not hugely babyish.
Yeah, she's just great.
Yeah. Well, you have to be born Jennifer Tilly. You can't become Jennifer Tilly. Otherwise, all of us would, because why the fuck wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, if we all had the ability to shapeshift into Jennifer Tilly, there would be 6 billion Jennifer Tillys on this planet.
It would absolutely just turn into that episode of The Twilight Zone. The number 12 looks just like you, but it's just Jennifer Tilly. Like, that's what it would be. It's like, oh, I'm 18 and I get to choose. I will take the Jennifer Tilly model. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're just walking in a park and there's like a Matrix Reloaded scene of 100 Jennifer Tillys fighting in a schoolyard.
That's what I hope my version of heaven looks like when I die.
But why didn't they make 100 different versions of Jennifer Tilly to fight Neo in that movie? That also would have improved that film by leaps and bounds. Again, if you have access to a Jennifer Tilly, nevertheless, the many Jennifer Tillys it would require to have that kind of fight, why don't you fucking do it already?
And the Wachowskis have access because they put her in bound. They could have done this. Sisters, you're in trouble. They got her
on speed dial. Like, come on. The good news is that Charlotte has graduated from clove cigarettes to full-on cigs, and she's doing great with it. She has one cigarette, and already she's doing that thing where she breathes smoke and it goes up through her nose and out. Like, come on. You can't be that good at smoking that fast with
professional.
One pill of ecstasy.
That's professional level smoking.
I love the way that she looks on screen with it too, because obviously like smoking is bad. I went to Dare. Yeah. I understand, but nothing ever looks cooler on like a movie than smoking. It looks so cool.
It's ridiculous. Like I tell people that, I'm not a fan of smoking. I am a fan of people who can do that thing where they take those like the Zippo lighters and open it on their thigh. And I'm like, that's the coolest fucking thing anybody can do. It's just like click. I'm like, whoever you are, I just want to hang out with you because you are probably the coolest person who ever lived.
The closest I ever got to it was I used to have a weed dugout, which is a little wood box, and it would have a small pipe, and it used to pop out with a spring. So I could move the little door, and it would pop out into my hand. And I practiced this over and over and over again to impress Becky's friends.
And it
did not impress Becky, but yes, on occasion it did. I won them over because I'm a very dorky person. So I had to appear cool in some way, shape, or form. And so that was as close to it as I got. Cough smoking weed to this day, but still, the display was interesting at the very least. I could peacock with it. This party goes on for 2 fucking days. If you sped up the movie, it would probably be 75 minutes at best. And you get a lot of Alyssa Milano in a velour baby doll dress, which I'm not going to complain about. She walks around this party. I get it. Sex exists. And then Chris is like, somehow, because the script demands him to do so, he rejects Jennifer Tilly and having sex on metal stairs. The only time having sex on metal stairs would be good. And then he is trying to make his way to the party, and then Martin Kemp transforms back from Jennifer Tilly and grabs him from behind. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to get interesting. All right, finally. And no, nothing comes of it. He just walks away.
Yep.
What is the point of this being a vampire movie?
This entire movie is just an over the pants rub down. Like, that's what it is. Like, that's the equivalent of sexual gratification you're getting.
Yeah,
It's not comfortable. You feel like it's going to lead to something more, and it just doesn't.
It's a lot of hand job at Beetlejuice performance level sexuality.
It really is, though.
So much illegal use of tongue in this movie. People just can't keep their tongues in their mouth in this film. And every time they're kissing, there's a lot of visible tongue down someone's throat. It's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe if I didn't have to hear it so much, maybe it would be fine.
Yeah, if something is going to lead the person who writes the captions, like the closed captions, to have to write the word slurping sounds, we've gone too far.
I believe you're referring to the slurping sounds that come from Martin Kemp after he bashes Jordan Ladd's head into a door. He then spends, and I timed it, 60 seconds lapping up gore off the door.
There's like a smear of blood on the door, and it takes him so long to lick it off, and it's still there. He pulls
it's still there. He pulls away. There's more saliva on his face than gore. And it's like, you spent a full minute licking fake blood off a door. And what did we get from it? Nothing.
And nothing I can think is like, how many decades of people's like sweaty palms have been against that door, pushing the door. It's the same reason why when people are like, ooh, the bathwater scene and Saltburn, I'm like, bathwater is people soup. That's disgusting. Yeah. Like the part that's supposed to be hot is completely like destroyed by how gross this actually is. That door is a petri dish. Ew.
Oh my God. God knows how many times it's been painted over, and you only have to get through so many layers before you hit lead. But that's okay. He's going to die in 10 minutes anyways. So why not go out on a high?
Put us all out of our misery and just go away.
And you're thinking, well, what we really need is a finale to really cap this off. A big fight scene where everyone's fighting for the soul of Alyssa Milano. And what you get is one use of force lightning, and then Martin Kemp gets a tummy ache. And that's your final fight, everyone. That's it.
That's it. It is in both senses of the word anticlimactic.
Yes.
Yeah, this is an ending that comes with I swear this never happens.
But he uses the last bit of his vampire magic to force lightning Chris, who crumples to the ground, and he's like, ooh, I gotta go bathroom, and then dies. And that's it. That's the movie.
We did it.
I wish I could tell you it was anything different. He goes up to a different room where he's got a bunch of rugs and his big Nosferatu diary, and he throws it on the ground. He's like, oh, me don't feel good. End of movie.
Oh, you did forget one crucial thing. Chris telling her, happy birthday.
Oh, God. And she, this is where you need an after credit scene where she's just throwing his shit out of her room and saying, I don't want you around ever again. I don't care how often you showed up here in the middle of the night with your stupid Ford 4-door. Get the fuck out. I never want to see you again. You don't even go to this school.
I just want her to be like, I'm 18 now. Bye. I'm an adult. I make adult decisions now.
I can vote. Well, I don't know. I don't know what voting age is in Canada. But I don't even know if this was filmed in Canada. It just feels
it feels Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most unpopulated college campus on the face of the planet. It looks beautiful, but like it's just empty for whatever reason. Like 15 people go there, and all the ladies are hot and all the guys are I guess.
Yeah, this is very much the, we shot here when there was no school in session, and these were the only people we could fill it with. And I did look it up. It's in Faribault, Minnesota, so not quite Canada, but close.
As close as you can get without going over the line, Price is Right style.
Exactly.
If not actually Canada, it is culturally Canadian. It just feels that
There's
way.
definitely a professor there that says sorry, so that's all you need.
And so this brings to end this Nosferatu diary. But before we can say the end, with a moose and squirrel with stardust behind them, we have to play a little game we call Choose Your Own Death Venture. And that's where we decide of the deaths portrayed in this film. If you were forced to die that way, which way would you choose and why? Up for bid, we have get your neck snapped and then your blood consumed. Get bitten on the neck by a vampire, but don't become a vampire yourself. Have your head bashed into a door a whole bunch. Or have a vampire tummy ache and fall over into your Nosferatu diary. And BJ, as our guest, I choose you to go first.
So part of me was like, ooh, maybe the vampire tummy ache because I have IBS. So I'm already living the vampire tummy ache life just in real life. So maybe I could make that better. I've got a lot of experience here, but really I'm going to go with the Jordan lad through the door. Push me through the whole door. Like if I'm going out through a door, getting banged against it, I want to be crashing through this ancient door and, dying because the splinter, impales me or something. We're not going to do any of this pathetic head slamming thing. We're going for it.
Go get the whole Voorhees special sort of deal.
Yes, absolutely. If you're gonna die getting pushed into a door, make it count.
Yeah, I don't think Martin Kemp has that kind of power. Unfortunately, he's all his power is in his legs. I guess we're not allowed to see them, but they're certainly not in his upper body. Gina, what say you?
Gosh, I do like the door slamming. I think that and Jennifer Tilly are the only times that this movie's like, hey, wake up, like, kind of like,
right.
Snapping its fingers in the audience's face. And, but again, like Jennifer Tilly, it's right at the end of the movie. It's too little too late. So I think I will actually say getting bitten through a net by a clumsy, inept vampire. Because it's very much like this might as well happen, the kind of scene, and it's just it's so absurd. And if you could find this clip online, I'd say look it up because it is a true. You want to do another take of this? No, you're good. You're good with how this looks. Okay, all right. Next shot. We're done, people. Call it a wrap. But
it's like they're editing it in camera. It's a real odd decision.
Yeah, so I'll take the way Rachel True dies. I guess she presumably dies, right? It's kind of
she never shows up again.
She just disappears, and I don't think she's ever mentioned again.
No, it's like she doesn't exist. People move on with their lives.
That's why I wasn't sure I thought it was a dream sequence at first.
Yeah, it might as well be. Is the other thing. She might still be alive. We don't know. The movie is not interested in giving us answers. It's also not interested in giving us questions. It's not interested. The motion picture. As far as the death goes, I personally feel like using the last bit of my magic for force lightning and dying by a tummy ache feels very on brand for me. That's generally how every week goes by. So we've got that going for me. But before we go, BJ, why don't you tell people where they can see and hear more from you on these internets?
Sure. I am on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at BJ Colangelo. I am the lead evening news editor at /film. So you can find my musings over there. And then I co-host the podcast This Ends at Prom with my wife Harmony, where we talk about coming of age stories of all genres and decades. And it's a whole lot of fun. We talk about a lot of movies that people have forgotten about. And it's nice to give them the attention they deserve.
Absolutely. I cannot recommend This Ends at Prom enough. I think you two are delightful, and I think you have a fantastic, obviously you have a fantastic chemistry, but it really comes off in the show and a general love for the material that you're dealing with. People should check it out. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. I have a Substack, watchthings.substack.com. And I am on all social media except Twitter under Gina Does.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. Go to Revenge Body Memphis at bandcamp.com to get this theme and all of our remixes. Join us on Patreon for bonus episodes. Rate, review, and subscribe. All those reviews help us be seen and heard by more people. And that just about does it for this month of erotic thrillers. I don't.
Were
Gina,
you thrilled?
did we ever find a thriller? Did we land on a thriller at any point?
Honestly, I'm shocked that the episode of The Hitchhiker that we did with Kay was actually ended up the best thing we watched. Yeah. We watched for this.
BJ, have you ever seen this episode of The Hitchhiker?
No.
Called Face to Face. It's stunning to me. I still keep thinking about it because it's a normal like Twilight Zone with boobs episode of The Hitchhiker, and they just allow this one trans character to actually like express her experience without being judgmental in any way, shape, or form, and just it feels so genuine. You wonder like who knew somebody who decided
it feels it feels very personal, which is
well, now I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I mean, and for 1983 to like as far as like trans characters being treated with respect, basically all you had at that point was like John Lithgow, The World According to Garp, and that is it. But it's really remarkable. Like when we went into this, we were like, this is probably going to be very uncomfortable. No, it was shockingly, you treated with empathy, which, I mean, the rest of the episode is pretty dumb, but the way that this character is treated was really remarkable.
They spend a good 7 minutes treating this person like a human being as they should be treated. And the rest of the time they're like, I don't know, let's do coke off of boobs. It's a normal episode of The Hitchhiker. And it's just such a weird juxtaposition. And Kay brought it to us. And I keep thinking about it. It's just because it's just not found. Like it should be more common. What's weird about it is it's not more common. And this stupid episode of The Hitchhiker managed to accomplish this in 1983?
Oh, it's shocking how that stuff happens. Like, my wife bought a poster of a movie called I Want What I Want from, like, the 70s. And it was like, man wants to be a woman. And we were like, oh, well, this is going to be awful. We have to watch it. We gotta. And then we watched it and we were like, wait, why is this brilliant? And it's from the 70s. And it's so thoughtful. What the hell?
It is wild, but I'm so happy it exists. I'm so glad that Kay brought it to us to talk about, and then everything else that I thought would be, the more standard fare ended up being pretty terrible.
It's just interminable.
Unfortunately,
it's just interminable.
Next year we'll let everyone else choose what our After Dark movies will be. Maybe they'll be better producers than I am, or Kay. Kay is the best producer we had all month, so thank you to her. But that just about does it for this episode. Don't worry, folks, the body count will continue. For myself, Gina, and BJ, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.